In the Jaleel Javonte thing, I'm going to ask you this, and I don't know the answer. So, like I said, just leaning this on you. Remember a couple weeks ago, you said, like, you went to talk to Audric Estime, and you're like, man, coach is talking about you getting a bunch of carries. And Audric was like, oh, really? That's cool. He didn't know that.
He didn't know that.
And then Sean lied to all of us and, was kind of playing the game. But do you think there'd be any – so today they're practicing, right? They're getting after it right now.
Yep.
Do you think Javonte Williams will show any signs, tells, body language? Maybe he'll just come out and say it if he wasn't getting the bulk of the carries today? Like right now, if he's not being featured as RB1 at practice,
right,
will you be able to tell that by the way Javonte acts later today?
The great thing about that running back room is they're all in it for Bo. Like all of those backs and really all the players on all sides of the ball believe in Bo Nix so much, but you don't get that from Javonte whatsoever at all, as I'm making up words. Like Javonte is so focused on just doing what's asked of him. So when Estime didn't know he was potentially going to get more work, and then he never did, because how are you the hot hand when the guy in front of you shows a little bit of hotness and then you don't get the carries? Like, no, you can double up on your hotness. Go for it with Estime. Give him more work. So if Javante's going to have a reduced role, we're not really going to know. Now, watching practice, we generally see warm-ups, and they're doing it while we're on air. So I don't see practice during the week, but I'll tell you what it is. Lots of stretching. And then roster counting, who's out there, who's not out there, and then some one-on-ones and a little bit of team stuff. But even if Audric Estime was the first back out there, Javonte Williams is not going to affect his preparation. It's not going to affect his – he's always good to talk to the media. He doesn't give you a whole lot, but he's never one to kind of wear his heart on his sleeve or make it all about him. He's kind of the anti-Melvin Gordon in that aspect where it's like he's just – and Gordon did some team stuff, but – Gordon also was a bit divisive. Yeah. With Javonte, it's not like that at all whatsoever. It's all for one for all, whether he's the lead guy, Estime, Jaleel, whatever.
I like hearing that. I like hearing that a lot. And I just wonder, because like I said, I am assuming that it is Jaleel now moving forward, at least this week, based off what they did the week before.
Does it matter?
And the Colts don't have a great rushing defense.
Right. And does it matter if Jaleel's the first one out there? Like, we'll be in the press box on Sunday.
Oh, like on first play of the game?
So
no,
first play of the game?
I don't care about that.
Okay.
I don't care about that.
All right. What about introducing starters? I know Kev was upset that Cortland Sutton got introduced finally.
No, I don't care about that.
Doesn't care about that? Yeah. Sorry, Kev. So, okay, so Jaleel gets the second series, and maybe he's not as hot. Do you want to see Estime third series, or is it back to Javonte?
I honestly, I think you can tell right away. We definitely can tell with Javonte. We've seen that. If he's dancing, if it's east and west and not north and south, over. Pull the plug immediately. I kind of would give Jaleel a little bit more of a grace period. Let's see him break that edge. Like, it's not all his control. If somebody can't seal on the right or the left, wherever they're running the football, it's not all in his control. So I would probably give a little bit more grace to Jaleel. But also at the same time, we've given 13 weeks of grace to Javonte freaking Williams, so why doesn't Jaleel get a little bit of that pass?
Yeah, and when does that run out? Yeah. I think it's already run out. Maybe coming out of the bye. You will see this team do different things coming out of the bye. We just don't know what it is yet. The great thing about Jaleel, and I mentioned this on Orange and Blue today, and one of my don't be that guys was don't be the guy that's immediately offended by anything. Because I mentioned on the show yesterday, and of course I think someone on Twitter or something hit me up, and it was like, because I mentioned how Jaleel McLaughlin's doing like Le'Veon Bell stuff.
Oh, with his feet?
Yeah. And it's because you and I have always said, like, he doesn't break any tackles. Well, now they'll block it for him. And they're a top 5 run blocking unit, and they're the number 1 pass blocking unit in the league.
Wow.
For the offensive line. They're top 5 in both categories, and nobody is better at pass block win rate than the Denver Broncos. But they'll block the run. Jaleel will get up there to the hole, and he'll kind of stop. And you rarely see it. McCaffrey can do it. Le'Veon Bell could do it. But it's very rare. It's a very rare trait. But now, instead of just running right up in there and then running into contact and I'm just trying to fight for some yards, you're not Phillip Lindsay, man. You can't do that. But what he can do, because he's so damn quick and he's so damn fast, is he can run up to that hole, kind of stop, almost be flat-footed, then see where it's opening, and then bam, he's gone. So I like seeing that from Jaleel. And, yeah, it's a little bit like Le'Veon Bell. And I think that's something that's kind of – you and I have been marveling at what Jaleel McLaughlin has done in terms of after contact, because he's not just running right into contact. Javonte almost seeks contact to his detriment, where he's just like –
because he thinks he can win the one-on-one.
Morgan Freeman voice. He did not win the one-on-one. He can't do that anymore.
Yeah. That's what he thinks that he can do. And I also man, with the offensive line, that might be something that you have a conversation with a guy like Garrett Bowles or Quinn Miners. We want multiple touches. We didn't call it carries yesterday. We said touches for whatever the running back. You said 20 for Estimate. I said 18 for Jaleel. I would imagine, Cecil, that Garrett Bowles, Quinn Miners, they want the same things too because it's about establishing that rhythm. It's about just what you said. Oh, Jaleel's the guy getting the carries. Well, I know when he's pressing up against my back plate or my pads on the back of my body, he's still not decided where he's going to go.
Right.
And then you're guessing what Audric Estime's tendencies are or what's the word I'm trying to say here? Is it tendencies?
Yeah, it's tendencies.
You know what I mean? That rhythm and establishing the hot hand, if you will, it helps not only the running back, not only Bo Nix, but it gives those offensive linemen a real advantage in run block.
And I've talked to offensive linemen about this before, even dating back to years ago. I had actually asked Willie Parker about his timing with Jerome Bettis because you basically have that situation now. You have a Willie Parker and you have a Jerome Bettis. You have an Audric Estime, doesn't get used enough. And then you have Jaleel McLaughlin, who's the speed guy. So as a blocker, as you mentioned, I feel him on my back plate. If that's Audric, I'm going to be falling forward.
Yeah.
If that's Jaleel, I've got to maintain my block.
You're still
the
engaged.
Timing is different, especially now with Jaleel being more patient. And I think it's patience that really separates the great runners in this league. And it's something that Jaleel didn't have because it's a hot hand approach. You're not going to have patience because I got to make a play because if I don't make a play, then I'm not going to make more plays. Mm-hmm. And it causes guys to press. Jaleel is being very patient now, and he's not pressing at all whatsoever, and I think that's where his success is coming from.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, too, of it's that you're looking over your shoulder. are they coming in? Hey, come on, you're out. You didn't gain 4 yards on this play, so now you're going to sit and watch for the next 6 plays. That's a real thing.
Javonte, you didn't get to the line of scrimmage. I didn't get to the line of scrimmage again, guys.
Hey, you're still at -1 yards over the last 2 weeks there, Javonte. Another fair question going into the Colts game is Levi Wallace, and what does Vance Joseph do to help protect Levi Wallace? Now, we talked about this after the Browns game. There were moments where Levi did think he was passing off to a safety.
Yes.
The safety was just not there, so that's not all 100%. On the veteran that is Levi Wallace, but Vance has to make it so much more clear that there's help there. It's bracketed on his side. And when he's going to pass it off, there has to be a visual communication, body language, whatever the case may be. Levi Wallace must be better, but Vance has to be better in helping Levi Wallace be better.
Right. And what did we say ahead of the Browns game? We said that Jameis Winston is going to play Dilligoff ball. Mm-hmm. And he does. He just plays YOLO ball, where he just throws it up there. He doesn't care. So if you're going to give him that look and you're going to give him a one-on-one, and his zone blitz isn't going to confuse him. Anthony Richardson is a fine young quarterback. You can confuse him all day.
Yeah.
You can confuse him all day. What was the number, Kev, about his completion percentage? Only 2 games this year above 50%?
Correct.
Yeah, only 2 games this year above 50%.
Wow.
That's half, Eddie, of your passes thrown.
Right.
That's god-awful in today's league where passers are regularly 65, 70%. You got a guy that's at 50% twice. You can zone blitz him all day. So I understand what you're saying about Levi Wallace if he's out there or Chris Abrams-Drain if he's out there. But this is not Jameis Winston playing YOLO ball.
Fair.
This is a young quarterback that can get rattled because he doesn't know what he's looking at.
I might be ready to see a Chris Abrams-Drain. Maybe he's not the starter because DJ is going to trust the veteran a little bit more. But we saw, it felt like one play that Damari Mathis came in, and then he was done. They went right back to Levi. If there's struggles like that, communication, there's not good brackets or passing off in coverage, I would not mind seeing Chris Abrams-Drain at all in this game on Sunday.
What's one thing that we've learned this year? Trust the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that's what the whole season's about.
Yeah, and because you're forced to. Why? Because you had a terrible salary cap situation. Mm-hmm. Because you can only get so many free agents, right? That's why, we got Josh Reynolds. Great. What'd that get you? Nothing. You drafted Devon Vele. Play the kid. Mm-hmm. I know he's older, but play the kids. Chris Abrams-Drain was the one pick other than the guard that you remember his name. Gargulio, yeah.
Her name's going to be Julia Gulia?
That's funny. Why is that funny? With Chris Abrams-Drain, I guess maybe it was my, reaction to people saying, he's like Chris Harris Jr., which nobody is CHJ. Shout out CHJ. That's my dude. Yeah. I love that guy. And it was such a find coming out of Kansas, 4-year starter. Chris Abrams-Drain is not that. So I kind of got a guttural reaction when people are like, it's like Chris Harris Jr. No, he's not. But it might be better than Levi Wallace. And as we've learned, play the kids. So is that KAD, Chris Abrams-Drain?
Oh, like
is that KAD? Yeah, maybe. And I wouldn't mind seeing it because, again, barnyard psychology. How's that working out? Levi Wallace is a fine veteran. How's that working out?
See, KAD, I like KOD, J. Cole, right?
Yeah.
It all blends together.
I like it.
I like that one a whole lot. And speaking of Levi Wallace, it is, you've mentioned the wide receivers for the Colts and what they bring. They do have a three-headed monster in that wide receiver room. And Alec Pierce, he actually has the least amount of catches of the big three that I'm talking about. But he has the most yardage. So he's that big play threat.
Yes.
I look at Alex Pierce of less speed, but not as big of a drop us as you think, as that Jerry Jeudy role that we're talking about with Cleveland. And again, you saw them tear him up. You're absolutely right. Jameis is better than Anthony Richardson is of getting the ball downfield and throwing it to an open receiver or throwing a receiver open. But Alec Pierce is a guy that's exactly what Shane Steichen's doing all day, every day this week. How can we get Alec and Levi across from one another and just trust that Alec Pierce is going to win that match?
Yeah, but then you're going to have to trust that Anthony Richardson stays steady.
No, exactly right.
Part of his...
I don't trust that.
It's a double-edged sword, and when it's not a Colt show, if not, we'd have Seth DeFlo as our producer, but like...
sick.
Part of that... No, Kev's sick, man. Kev's the best.
Yeah,
Kev's the best. Better than Seth DeFlo. Part of the problem with the Colts is Anthony Richardson doesn't know what he's looking at. And that's not to say that one day he won't be developed and he'll be the best quarterback of all time. It's more than a big arm and running around. This league is much more than that, right? Why is Lamar Jackson MVP again? Because he's such a dangerous passer, and he was at Louisville. If you knew what you're watching, you knew at Louisville he was as well. Now, a lot of people didn't. That's why I had the whole he should be a wide receiver, all that nonsense we had about Lamar Jackson. Not every athletic big arm quarterback is the same, okay? And Anthony Richardson is nowhere near Lamar Jackson when it comes to reading a defense and understanding what he sees. You can confuse him, and VJ's going to confuse him all day. I mean, there's a chance to really, really eat. Nick Bonito, sacks come in bunches.
Yeah.
If this team, as a team, had 4 or 5 sacks on Richardson, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, especially if the Broncos can find themselves up early.
Oh, yeah.
And you take away some of that running game, take away Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
At least as much as you can. I mean, not only will the quarterback be pressing, Shane Steichen will be pressing because Shane has been talking about how important this game is and what it means. They know what this is. We're going to talk about it more at 1 o'clock, but this is basically a must-win game for the Indianapolis Colts because of what their playoff percentages will drop to if they do not win this football game.
How cool is this, man? How cool is this? It's December 11th. We're talking about really meaningful football. And these next 4 games, that's why they all have a playoff feel. We talked about that. But this is everything that you wanted because of Bo Nix, because of everybody else, and Sean Payton because he discovered electricity. But it's like, this is everything you wanted this Broncos team to be and more this season. And this game against Colts, do not fall asleep. I know James said, he doesn't feel the Colts are a good opponent. That's his opinion. That's fine. I have a much different opinion. I think the Colts will get you if you're not paying attention and you don't have the eyes on the road and the eyes on the prize. And that's where Vance Joseph, it's mostly on him. I believe that we'll see a 3-header running back by committee, which is frustrating. I believe that Bo Nix will do Bo Nix things with Cortland Sutton, with Devon Vele, a dash of Marvin Mims. But I believe this game against the Colts comes down to what did Vance Joseph learn during the bye.
Well, and I'm with you that it's I don't think the Colts are a great team, but they're not this terrible god. They have Jonathan Taylor on the freaking team.
Right.
And the 3 wide receivers that we're talking about in Downs, Pittman, and I just said his name, Pierce.
Alec Pierce,
They're more than good enough at the NFL level. So you have one of the best running backs in the league. You have a 3-headed monster at the wide receiver spot. The defensive line isn't great on the Colts side, but it's not absolutely terrible either. And you have a quarterback that he does have a cannon of an arm. Can't figure out what he's going to do with that arm, but he can also run pretty much anybody over on the other side with his ability and body to run.
Well, and you know what we're talking about, and you may be watching us on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. How's it going? Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. if Vance Joseph wants a head coaching gig again, he cannot fail in this game. You'll give him a pass just like you gave him a pass for the Miami game. And then the defense went on a tear, and they were amazing,
That
right?
game created this monster that we see today.
Exactly. It was a reaction to that game. So I'm anticipating it was a downfall against the Cleveland Browns. You're lucky you got out of that game with a win. I'm expecting Vance Joseph's unit to come out fearsome and just aggressive and being a nightmare. I don't think Anthony Richardson, you don't even want to say Denver to him after this game, right? Because playing against the Broncos, that's going to mess you up, man, mentally. He doesn't want to even fly over Denver. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to visit Denver. He doesn't want to ski, nothing like that. Like, that's the type of game that's coming. But if you are Vance Joseph, you're not going to get a head coaching gig if Anthony Richardson gets you. Again, Bengals defenders in summer joint practices were making fun of AR because he doesn't read the defense. Because you know what? He doesn't read the defense. So, VJ, you want a head coaching gig? You better shut this guy down.
I feel good about it. I feel good about the chances of the Broncos defense, the offense on the other end of that. You're talking about the hot hand. I'm with you. I mean, at what point are we going to stop pretending that Sean's going to get out of this mode? He's got to do it now before we continue to talk about it. But Jaleel was asked about that too, that hot hand approach and how he handles it.
I don't really think about it at all. When I am able to get out there and my number is called, what I'm going to do with the ball, I don't worry about how many touches I get, how many touches might I get or this and that. It's just like, what can I do to help this team win? And that's really, honestly, it's really my approach. I really don't think about it at all, honestly. So, like I said, I'm just going to keep, doing what I can do to help this team win. And that's my approach, not how many touches I'll get.
All right, I know he said honestly, but I don't believe him. Like Jaleel a lot, but, I mean, that's human nature, man. It's football player nature. That's what we just said. Like, you do have to – you know what your carries are because you know, hey, here I am in the game. It's my first attempt. It's my first chance or opportunity to touch the football. I can't screw this up, or it comes – from the next opportunity being in 2 plays, that the next opportunity comes in 2 series.
Right. Right. And
so he's lying about that.
Yeah. But, hey, it's giving you some player speak. It's fine. That's fine. Go out there and perform. Go out there and produce. And I'd say the same thing for Audric Estime. You mentioned having a lead in this game. It's very important. You take Jonathan Taylor away, for the most part, he can still get you as a receiver. But then you put the pressure on Anthony Richardson. Here's how else you put pressure. If Audric Estime can be your closer, I am telling everyone right now, and some of the most important things I've ever said on this station. The debut or the workload for Audric Estime is paramount to your playoff success. Why? Because if he can be your closer, Bo will do the work. Bo will get you to the league, and Cortland Sutton's got a touchdown, and Devon Bailey's got a touchdown, and oh my God, Marvin Mims, it's over. He's got a touchdown, 93 yards, take it to the house. If you can't close, and you let teams like the Colts hang around, and you let teams like the Chargers hang around, and you let teams like the Bengals hang around, you're going to get beat, and you're not going to have postseason success. So make Estime your closer. Make that an emphasis. Will it be for the Broncos coming out of the bye? We are fixing to find out.
Can't wait to see it. Obviously, we'll get deeper and deeper into the game as the week rolls on, and then on a Bud Light Football Friday, we will really dissect this game about what we expect, what the Broncos can do, and what we expect from their